I want to talk for a few minutes about a game that may have flown under your radar. It was released on January 4th in early access on Steam, and it is called Cruelty Squad. Now, as much as I love old school first-person shooters, I haven't really hopped on the old school shooter revival train. There's been a lot of games over the last few years that look like old build engine games or look like PlayStation 1 era games, and there's a whole lot of games coming out in the last few years that really try to look like the late 90s. It's not that I'm actively avoiding these games by any means, it's just that there's only so many hours and dollars I can spend on video games, and I haven't gotten to many of these throwback shooters just yet, although I do intend to check most of them out. However, one exception to all that would be Cruelty Squad, a game that I actually pre-ordered, which I don't normally do, but I was following the developer on Twitter for a minute, and I really like the look of this game. It's hideous and terrifying in a way that is very pleasing to me for some reason that I can't fully articulate. In one sense, the response that it evokes in me is kind of similar to what I get when I play System Shock, where there's these multicolored, almost impossible seeming corridors that are just nightmarish. I don't know if you're someone who ever messed around with the old Postal or Duke Nukem 3D level editors back in the day. I never got too good at making levels for either of those games, but I did mess around a lot, and I would make corridors and texture them with these garish, clashing patterns, and in a lot of ways, the overall level design and look of Cruelty Squad really feels a lot like someone messing around in one of those old school level editors, except taking that aesthetic and applying it to a fully fleshed out game. The other parallel I want to draw is Tech War, a game that I think looks awesome, but plays terribly. So I'm not saying that Cruelty Squad plays terribly, but it has a very similar sort of dystopian, sick, futuristic vibe to it that I think the Tech War game had on the build engine. Except, this game actually handles really well and is very fun to play. To put the story very simply, you're a mercenary of sorts working for a corporation, and you receive a target and you have to go into the area, the level, and eliminate the targets. Now, in any given level, there's going to be a number of enemies, a number of civilians, and also randomly placed and seemingly randomly generated health and money pickups. You take the money you find and earn by completing missions and put it into this upgrade tree here, and you get all sorts of different implants, and I clearly haven't unlocked all that much. I'm really only a few hours into the game, but I want to give my first impression and speak on this game because it's very polarizing. And recently, game designer David Jaffe, who you might know for his work on Cliffhanger for the NES, Super NES, Mega Drive, Genesis, the Sega CD. He worked as a game tester on Cliffhanger. No, I'm just kidding. He did do that, but he was also the director for the Twisted Metal series and the first two God of War games. And I think he knows a thing or two about game design, but he's also a polarizing figure himself. And recently on Twitter, he was talking smack about Cruelty Squad, saying that the positive reviews for the game were trolls, suggested that Steam needs to completely overhaul its review system, and how he hates getting trolled, and how he got a immediate refund, even though he hadn't really put all that much time into the game. And this turned into a few days back and forth of Cruelty Squad fans and David Jaffe going back and forth and, having a little flame war. And I don't really care to go over all that. It's dumb internet drama that's good for a chuckle, but you can look it up for yourself if you want to see all that stuff. The point I'm trying to make is that Cruelty Squad is a little user hostile. I've seen people use that term online, and I could definitely agree with that. It's not the most immediately inviting game. However, I'm really enjoying the game, so I just wanted to do a little bit of advocating for Cruelty Squad, show off some of the first level. This is not by any means a actual review, that's why I'm not showing too much of the game beyond what you would get from your first couple hours of playthrough. But this is a very fun game with what I think is a very unique presentation. And there are parallels I can draw. Like, I don't mean to make any statements about the political or social views of the game or its designer, but in some ways the aesthetics of the game do remind me of something like World Peace or Sad World. It's stuff that takes 90s era Nickelodeon Trapper Keeper designs, like bombastic youth marketing, and twists it and perverts it into this thing that, again, I can't explain why I find this so appealing, but I do, and there's a certain sense of mystery and excitement while playing the game. Like, for instance, in the first level, I had found my 2 targets and headed for the exit. Now, at the end of the level, you get a recap on how many enemies are left, how many civilians were killed, and how you did on your time and score, and I saw that I missed a ton of enemies. So I started looking deeper and deeper into the level, and again, I don't want to spoil anything because I think this is a very unique experience that you should probably go into on your own and make your own decision on, but I found a lot more depth than I initially realized, and it's the kind of thing that makes me excited to get deeper and deeper into a game. Finding secrets, finding sort of esoteric little bits in the game that you only understand and find through your own exploration is something that I think is missing in a lot of modern games, and I think that's something that you would see a lot more in the 80s and 90s, SNES, NES, a lot of early PC games, a lot of old PC first-person shooters filled with crazy secrets that you'd have to just scour these levels top to bottom for. Cruelty Squad has that sort of excitement to it, and I think that's probably the biggest draw for me, is that even though I like the visuals, I like the presentation, I like the writing, the humor, I like the shooting and the gameplay. It's fun, the guns feel good, there's a lot of little quirks to the sound and visuals that are just really exciting. But on top of all that is the sense of exploration and the sense of this unique, twisted nightmare world that is going to reward you for exploring it. That's a really cool thing, and why I think, hey, if you were on the fence, or you've heard about this game, or you heard this game is a piece of shit, or you think it's a troll game, I'm here to say, I think it's pretty good. And if you got a few bucks, check it out. It is still in early access right now, and I do believe it's being developed by a solo developer, sometimes without other people on a team to sort of bounce ideas off or keep a sort of checks and balances. Solo developer games can just go on and on and on forever and never really reach the finish line and get released in a full version. I don't get that vibe from the developer of Cruelty Squad. This seems like labor of love that they are putting time into, but also clearly making a lot of forward momentum just from the first time I booted up the game in January until when I booted it up just recently today while getting footage for this video. I already saw minor improvements to the game, which were creating a stronger experience, but not at all feeling like the sort of updates where you can tell a developer is kind of lost in the weeds, so to speak. Anyway, I don't want to give a full review to a game that's still in early access, and I don't want to give a full review to a game I haven't beaten yet. That's why this is just a quick little piece to say, hey, you may have heard about this game recently, you know I got great taste, I'm telling you, check it out. If it's something that it looks like you want to support, get it in early access. If you're not quite sold, keep an eye on it, wait for development to finish, and we'll come back when that happens and talk about it again. In the meantime, we got plenty more videos on the channel. Check us out, subscribe, like, comment. Have you been playing Cruelty Squad? Have you heard about this game? What do you think? Let me know, all right? Peace.